Tatsuya was an ugly, poor, neglected child who was bullied by his mother at a young age for being a defective magician, and she tried countless times to eliminate him before he was born. His abuse continued getting deadlier every day, but on his 4th birthday, his mother forced him to undergo an illegal forbidden surgery and unleashed her broken mind-altering ability to fry his brain. However, the procedure failed, but she deleted all of his emotions and desires, and no matter how much he cried or screamed for help, they kept testing him like he was a worthless rat and used him as nothing but his sister's bodyguard. Since that day, however, Tatsuya secretly developed the greatest destructive magic known to mankind, and gained the ability to revive others from the dead, but kept hiding it from his family. Even on planes, his mother and sister would ride in first class and eat the best food, while he had to sit alone among strangers and starve all day. When Miyuki saw him waiting with her bags, she was disgusted by the fact that he was blood related to her, but her mother told her to not be bothered by it, because he's nothing more than their servant. Even looking in her direction would make her want to vomit, and she wished for him to die one day. When they got to their villa, their maid Hanami welcomed them inside. But after seeing the nice weather, Miyuki asked her mother to take a walk outside. However, her mother said to bring their servant along, but Miyuki was revolted by the idea of being close to him. As she enjoyed the sun, all she could think about was how worthless that person is, and couldn't even bring herself to call him her brother. After all, he has no magical powers. But as she kept walking, Tatsuya tried pulling her away before bumping into someone, but the big black man intentionally shoved her back anyway. The 3 oppressive soldiers threatened to harm her, but Tatsuya stepped in to protect his sister, and told them to get their ugly asses out of his face. However, after hearing his disrespect, the man launched a magical infused strike towards him, but Tatsuya blocks it with ease, shocking Miyuki. As the man got in a fighting stance, Tatsuya told him that he's risking his life, but after the soldier feinted his first shots, Tatsuya evaded his strike and punched him in the stomach, forcing him to his knees. Both of the soldiers' lackeys were shocked, but Tatsuya took his sister's hand and left. As they kept walking, she never imagined her brother would be this powerful, and for the first time, she felt a different kind of emotion towards him. Inside the mansion, Miyuki told Hanami that her brother protected her, but Tatsuya said he was only obeying his orders, shocking Hanami. However, his mother was glad that he knew his worthless place, and after he left, Miyuki began crying, wondering why he had to be her servant. When she was done showering, Hanami told her that her mother was feeling ill because of her deadly disease, so she would have to take her place at the royal party to represent their family. Along with her, she would be taking Tatsuya, and after leaving inside the limo, Hanami couldn't help but feel heartbroken, because while she was just an AI robot, Tatsuya was a real human, so she wished for those 2 siblings to be close one day. When they arrived at the party, her uncle greeted her and went on to introduce her to the rest of the family, while completely ignoring Tatsuya's existence. Her 2 cousins, Ayako and Fumiya, were excited to see her, but wondered if Tatsuya had come with her. As soon as they saw him, they ran to talk with him, but as Miyuki watched them from afar, their father thought they were disrespectful for ignoring the actual heir to the Yotsuba family. However, she noticed her brother smiling for the first time in his life, and felt jealous that he'd never smiled at her like that. But the entire Yotsuba family, the strongest mage clan in Japan, viewed him as nothing more than an instrument, so she knew that she had to treat him the same way, as a worthless peasant, and to never harbor any love for him. But in that moment, she saw him smile once more, and she felt a pain in her heart. A few weeks later, while Hanami was taking photos, she noticed the sad gaze on Tatsuya's face, and asked Miyuki to take a photo with her brother. However, Tatsuya needed permission from his mother, so after she agreed, they both sat down to take a photo together. But rather than remaining gloomy for the photo, Miyuki smiled in the last second. Just then, however, their boat began speeding away, and the captain alerted them that a submarine was stalking them. As the vessel launched missiles towards them, Tatsuya slowed the flow of time, and raised his hand to activate his abilities and neutralize the missiles, breaking them into pieces. His sister wondered how he was able to use magic without a CAD device, and wondered who he really was, because she never knew anything about her own brother. Later that night, the ugly, disgusting commander of the Navy, who had no budget spent on his anime eyes, began investigating why the torpedoes were fired at them. However, none of them knew the reason, and Mia told him to stop wasting their time. Outside of the house, the big black man saw Tatsuya once again, and when the leader recognized that he was the one who knocked him down, he forced his subordinate to apologize for his disrespect. Tatsuya accepted his apology, and the soldiers walked away. But before the leader left, he invited Tetsuya to come to the base and spar with them, and left to drive away. The following day, Mia had her weapons of mass distraction exposed, and Hanami told her that she was invited to a dance. Because of that, she called on Tetsuya to stand, and told him that he should take the captain's offer to train while she's not home. However, Miyuki wanted to be able to go with her brother, and claimed that she just wanted to assess his combat skills in case they were in danger. Seeing her point, their mother agreed, but commanded Tetsuya to call his sister by her name in public rather than her highness, to avoid the rest from finding out about their treatment of him. After walking for hours in the rain, the two of them arrived to the naval base, and all the soldiers were training together. Eventually, the soldiers began sparring against one another without using magic, and the captain asked him if he wanted to give it a try. Looking at his sister, Tetsuya accepted the offer, so the commander assigned Shiba to battle against him, saying that Shiba was the national boxing champion in college. As they took their stances, Shiba told him to take it easy, but as soon as the match started, Shiba rushed forward and attempted to land his strikes. But Tetsuya landed a single blow to his chest, knocking him down to his knees. The commander called Haruto to battle against Tetsuya, telling him to go all out. In their stance, Haruto launched up to kick Tetsuya down, but he managed to evade every single one of his kicks with ease. However, one of the soldiers was even more shocked to see how Tetsuya was fighting as if he's experienced deadly combat. Because with each evasion, he opened the distance to prevent his opponent from using a concealed weapon. After evading the rest of his attacks, Tetsuya attempted to strike back, but both of his hits were blocked. And when Haruto attempted to finish the fight, Tetsuya grabbed his arm and threw him down, ending the match. His sister was surprised at how powerful he was, but the big black man offered to be Tetsuya's final fight, claiming he wasn't intending on fighting for revenge. The commander still asked Tetsuya if he was comfortable with the battle, and when Tetsuya agreed, Miyuki was worried about her brother, but he told her that he would be alright. After walking to his side, both of them got into their stances, and the soldier immediately enhanced his speed with his magic. But Tetsuya leaped away. Miyuki thought it was unfair for him to use magic, but Tetsuya called out Miyuki's name, telling her that he needs to be prepared to fight magicians in the real world. As he continued dodging his attacks, Miyuki wondered if he really just used her name for the first time, and Tetsuya began using his powers while the soldier rushed towards him. In an instant, Tetsuya activated his Gram Demolition to neutralize the soldier's movement, and pinned him down. Once the match was over, the soldier admitted defeat like a good sport, and decided to introduce himself once more. He told Tetsuya that he's with the National Air Defense Force, and that his name is Danny Boner, because he has a big black c***. Tetsuya introduces himself back, and Danny hugs him close, telling him that he can give him a call if he's ever bored. 3 days later, Miyuki wondered how her brother could spend all day watching anime like a worthless f***ing loser instead of touching some grass. Yes, she's also referring to you losers watching the video right now.
No, that one there was a violation. Personally, I wouldn't have it.
Later that afternoon, Mia's cannons were armed once again. But as they were drinking tea, the emergency alarm began going off, and the National Defense Force announced that their defensive vessel was sunk by the enemy forces. Because of that, everyone needs to evacuate the island, and Tetsuya entered the room to escort them to the island's shelter. However, the phone began going off, and the caller was Maya, Mia's twin sister, who warned Mia to release Tetsuya's powers. Maya went on to say that she would be able to disable his limiter without even lifting a finger, so Mia agreed and hung up the phone. A few minutes later, the army tank began driving them towards the shelter, and when they arrived, Danny was going to be their personal security guard along with his other lackeys, and made them wait inside a room while the shelter was being prepared. Along with them were a few other families, but Hanami realized something was off, as shelters should always be prepared for emergencies. At the same time, Tetsuya tried calming Miyuki down, telling her that he'll always have her back. Hearing her brother say her name made her wonder what he meant by having her back. But just then, Tetsuya stood up feeling the vibrations of gunshots, and in the distance, the delayed sound finally arrived. When Hanami wondered where they were coming from, he knelt down to analyze the building, and realized there was a magic inhibitor placed on this room to restrain their abilities. Mia told him to investigate what was happening outside, and her eyes glowed as she activated her ability onto him, removing his limiter to unleash his powers. As he rushed outside, he saw the guards firing against one another, and inside the hotel, the armed guards were ready to take them to the shelter, but Mia told them to take the others first while they waited for Tatsuya. However, she revealed to Hanami that she couldn't care less about Tatsuya, but that she was doing this because she couldn't trust the soldiers. In that instant, Danny rushed inside, but his comrades began firing towards him. While they were distracted, Hanami attempted to cast a protective barrier, but one of the soldiers destroyed their force field along with their ability to cast magic. Danny began screaming at his comrade to regain his senses, but his friend told him that he's a magician who's treated like a king because of his powers, so he would never understand their struggle. Without his weapon, Danny attempted to remind them that he was their friend. But as soon as they were distracted, Miyuki casted her freezing magic, eliminating one of them. The soldier became outraged by the death of his comrade, and began gunning her down along with the rest of her family. But as soon as she was killed, a hole was ripped in the wall, and a soldier was instantly deleted. When Tatsuya landed, he began deleting the rest of the soldiers, and ran towards his sister. As he tried to save her, he placed his arm on her chest and began releasing his ultimate ability, begging for his sister to come back. Inside of her consciousness, Miyuki realized that she was actually going to die, but Tatsuya's voice continued attempting to reach her consciousness. However, she wondered why he would try to save her when all she'd done was neglect him, and wished that she would have at least apologized to him before leaving. Her last bit of strength ran out, and as she passed away, a magical circle began wrapping towards her, and her wounds began healing. As she got back up, she wondered if her brother could truly use magic, and thought that her brother had the most wonderful power in this world. Her eyes opened up to Tatsuya's face, and as he hugged her for the first time in his life, she hugged him back. When she got up, she saw how her mother had passed away, so Tatsuya pulled out his gun and pointed it towards his mother, healing her wounds with his powers and bringing her back to life. At the same time, he began repairing Hanami's wounds, but she was shocked since no healing magic in this world should bring them back from death. 30 minutes later, the leader of the army apologized for his soldiers turning into insurgents, but said that there was a large fleet of ships sailing towards them, and that 80% of the defense force had been completely destroyed. Tatsuya understood the situation, so he asked them to take his family to a safe place, and give him an armored suit and military equipment. But when the leader wondered why he would want that, Tatsuya told him that they killed his sister, so he'll burn all of them to ashes. The leader agreed only if Tatsuya spares those who surrender, but Tatsuya said that they won't even have time to surrender. While walking away, Miyuki ran to her brother and begged him not to leave and risk his life. However, Tatsuya told her that this is what he wants, because he swore to eliminate anyone who hurts his sister, and wouldn't be satisfied until he's accomplished his goal. After all, the only thing he can consider dear to him is his little sister. But when she wondered what he meant by those words, he realized that he'd accidentally revealed his secret, but said that it was time for her to finally learn the truth. Before leaving, he told her that in this world, she is the only thing he can ever consider dear to him, and he'll burn the entire planet down if that's what it takes to protect her. After walking away, the army's helicopters took off, and when the enemy fleet arrived on ground, they began rushing towards the island. But as they fired towards Tatsuya, he began firing his weapon to vaporize their bullets and delete them from existence. With his healing abilities, he revived the fallen comrades from their death, but as they watched his actions, Miyuki asked her mother to tell her the truth about her brother, so her mother promised to reveal Tatsuya's secret. But before that, she commanded her to stop calling the good-for-nothing worthless loser her brother. However, Miyuki said that Tatsuya had saved her life with his skill, but her mother said that was the only thing he's good for. After all, he was born a defective, useless magician. Because in this world, magic is the ability to modify and materialize objects using their data, but Tatsuya can only destroy information and reassemble it without ever changing it. Being born without any magic, even his regrowth skill wasn't considered magic, so his sister wondered if his abilities were a miracle. Her mother went on to explain that no one can remain a Yotsuba unless they can use magic. So 7 years ago, she conducted the artificial magician plan, a forbidden surgery in which she implants her magical calculation area into his brain. But because of that mind-altering procedure, Tatsuya lost all of his impulses, his intense anger, deep sorrow, hatred, sexual desire, and even blind love. None of those impulses remained, except for a single one, in exchange for his ability to use magic. Even then, his magic was basically worthless, and he underwent horrible training every day to become useful as a guardian. At that moment, Miyuki realized that her mother also lost her emotions in that surgery, but her mother went on to reveal the only emotion Tetsuya didn't lose. When Miyuki began crying for realizing the truth, her mother went on to say that the only emotion he kept was his love for his sister. His entire life, he spent it to make his sister's life better, and barely even recognized his mother as a real parent. After learning the truth, she wondered if she could ever repay him for how horrible she's treated him. Meanwhile, on the field, the remaining 6 ships began approaching the island, and as Tatsuya readied his gun, he materialized a massive barrel. Inside the base, Hanami asked if she could leave to help Tatsuya, but Mia didn't care either way, because Tatsuya was finally about to release his second ultimate ability. Before launching his fire, Tetsuya told his comrades to leave before being destroyed by the enemy, as there was no time for them to find another firing point. However, the soldiers were determined to support him until the end, so Tetsuya began aiming his barrel down and firing his shots. At the same time, the missiles from the enemy were falling towards them, so the soldiers activated their barrier magic to block the explosions. With the time they bought, Tetsuya began calculating the trajectory of the bullets he shot earlier to prepare for his final blow, but the entire fleet released all of their missiles towards him. Just then, Hanami began speeding towards them on a motorbike, and arrived in the last instant to block the explosions from killing them. The soldiers wondered how long she would be able to hold out, but before she ran out of energy, Tatsuya had finished calculating the trajectory, and fired the final bullet. After the entire fleet had been wiped out, Hanami fell off her feet, but a tsunami was about to wipe them out from the explosion, so they narrowly managed to escape. When they got away, however, Hanami told him that she had reached the end of her life, and told him that her entire life mission as an AI was to protect his family, so she had finally fulfilled her duty today. As Tatsuya was about to extend her life, she rejected his offer, saying that she's never had freedom to choose anything in her life, but this was the only time she could choose where to die, because now she can finally die as a human rather than a man-made instrument, and begged him to let her have her wish. In that moment, she closed her eyes and never opened them again. 3 years after the Akiwana incident, Tatsuya decided to further his education and enrolled at the Magic First High School. As Tatsuya walked around the school, he came across a first-course upperclassman who introduced herself as Mayumi. She told him that she was the student council president, and wondered if he needed any help getting around. Tatsuya noticed her CAD device and thought she was no ordinary president, so he introduced himself, but told her that he doesn't need any help. As the entrance ceremony began, Tatsuya noticed that blooms who were ranked as the best students were sitting in front, but weeds who were considered the worst were sitting in the back. Without much thought, he already knew his spot, and shortly, a young girl in glasses asked to sit by his side. She introduced herself as Mizuki, and her friend said her name was Erika, but Tatsuya wondered why she looked worse than a useless sloppy car. As the president concluded her speech, Miyuki arrived to present her own, but Tatsuya thought she was spitting trash and could not wait to leave already. That night, when Miyuki tried making coffee for Tatsuya, she realized that not a single person congratulated him on his admission into the school. The thought made her angry, and she began to freeze the kitchen, but he stopped her just in time and managed to calm her down. It was bad enough that no one wanted him to enroll in the first place, so he couldn't possibly expect anything from their family. The next morning, they began running up the road to their training ground, and as Tatsuya arrived, a man tried to attack him, but he smacked him away and kicked another, jumping, dodging, and swiping at their weapons. At the same time, the sensei appeared before Miyuki, wondering why her useless face was at his dojo. Before she could answer, his perv mind kicked in, and he said he'll show her how to play with his sword. Just then, he blocked a sudden attack, and Tatsuya told him to quit being a disgusting, ugly creep. The sensei promised to teach Tatsuya a lesson, so as Tatsuya began attacking, he noticed his invisible barrier, but the sensei attacked with a flurry of punches before kicking him away. But he landed comfortably, impressing the other fighters with this skill. At once, he began charging at the sensei, and as their sparring was over, Tatsuya lay in exhaustion. Miyuki tried to help him, but noticed that her dress was dirty, so she activated a magic technology that whitened her dress and cleaned him up. The following day at school, Mizuki and Erika noticed that Tatsuya was fast on the computer, so he told them that he was registering for lectures. A new student thought he was impressive, and introduced himself as Leo, telling them that his practical skill was convergent system reinforcement magic. When he wondered what Tatsuya's practical skill was, he told him that he didn't have any, but intends to become a magic engineer. Just then, a bell rang, and the teacher entered the class, but Tatsuya wondered why she looks like a Ribran nun. As they ate inside the cafeteria, Miyuki asked to join their table, but a group of morons appeared before her. Their leader, Shun, suggested they have their lunch together, saying that the weeds were a bunch of low-ranking losers who did not deserve a spot next to them. Angered by his words, Leo tried to challenge him, but Tatsuya decided to leave the table instead. Before heading home that evening, the same group of morons returned, demanding to take Miyuki home. Shun told them that they were too useless to even be acknowledged, but Mizuki said that his mother is useless. Looking to show off his power, Shun challenged Leo to a duel and tried to shoot him with a magic-enhanced gun, but Erika smacked it away and told him he was a worthless shitface. Afraid of losing their reputation, another member tried switching on his power, but a girl activated her own, casting darkness over everyone, and her magic shattered instantly. At that moment, Mayumi arrived, saying that it was a criminal offense to attack anyone with their magic. As Mary, the disciplinary committee leader, arrived, she told them that they would be punished for using their magic, and commanded the students to follow her immediately. Tatsuya began telling her that he asked the balloons to reveal their powers, but did not realize that it would go out of control. Mary thought he was a lying sack of shit but had no evidence to support her claim. Miyuki said that it was a simple misunderstanding, and apologized for causing a disturbance. To cool off the tension, Mayumi decided to cover for them, but warned them never to activate magic on their own as it was against the school rules. Having no other choice, Mary said she would overlook the incident, but promised to keep an eye on Tatsuya. As they left, Shun told Tatsuya that he would never acknowledge him, not even for saving his sorry ass, as he was convinced that he was far too superior and deserved to have Miyuki by his side, but left anyway. When Tatsuya and Miyuki were ready to head home, two students from the Blooms appeared before them and apologized for causing them trouble. Honoka, the girl who blew up her magic, thanked Tatsuya for covering up for them so they wouldn't be expelled. When she wondered if they could walk to the station together, the weeds were shocked, wondering if she was from a different Blooms. Shortly, they started walking down the street. When Honoka wondered how Miyuki modifies her CAD, she told her that Tatsuya was a CAD expert and could work his way deep inside her CAD anytime she wants. Erika thought Tatsuya was a manly man, and wondered if he would examine her own CAD, but he thought her device was more useless than her face, and told her to f*** off.
You're a victim!
The following day at school, Mayumi hurried to Tatsuya and Miyuki and asked to speak with her at lunch. So that afternoon, they arrived at the council office for the meeting. And as they began to have their lunch, Mayumi told them that they always induct a freshman into the student council every year, and asked her to join the council. Rather than accepting, Miyuki told them that Tatsuya was more deserving of the position, having had the highest score in their tests. She told them that Tatsuya was a genius compared to her, and wondered if they could both be accepted into the council. Just then, Mary said that there was still an empty spot at the disciplinary committee council. She thought Tatsuya would be a fine candidate for the position, so Mayumi nominated him immediately. At that moment, the bell rang, so Mary suggested that they meet when school was over. Inside the magic practice room, Erika activated the system and directed the device over the line with the speed she thought was perfect. However, when it was Tatsuya's turn, he activated the system and directed the device but thought it was too slow. He was disappointed at his ability and wondered why he sucked so bad. So later that day, when he arrived at the office, he decided that he was not good enough for the position, and thought of turning down the offer. At the sight of him, Mayumi's ugly vice president, Jaiabu, turned angry and walked past him to welcome Miyuki. Miyuki thought his face looks worse than broccoli, but decided to greet him anyway. Mary told Tatsuya that they must head to the disciplinary committee headquarters immediately so he would learn his full responsibility. However, as she tried to leave, Jaiabu began saying that Tatsuya was bad news, and that no weed had ever qualified for a position in the committee. Miyuki told them that Tatsuya was better than the test score, and that he could kick anyone's ass in a fight. When Miyuki tried explaining further, Tatsuya silenced her, and challenged Jaiabu to a simulated fight, shocking everyone. Certain he would kick his ass, Jaiabu accepted his challenge. Later that day, as they prepared for their fight, Jaiabu thought he couldn't possibly lose to a useless low-ranking loser who couldn't even pass his practical skills test. On top of that, with his CAD that activates magic twice as fast, Jaiabu was certain that he would win. He thought he could easily activate his speed-reliant sequence before Tatsuya, and using a single system movement spell, he would fling him into the wall with a powerful force that would turn him into a vegetable. As Mary commanded the duel to begin, Jayabu prepared to launch his attack, but Tatsuya knocked him down in an instant, leaving everyone in shock, as they wondered how he appeared behind him so fast. However, Mary declared him the winner, and they thought he was a ghost or something. When it was over, she asked if he activated a self-acceleration skill before the fight started, but he told her that his skill wasn't even magic, but was rather a physical movement. Miyuki told them that Tatsuya was training with a ninjutsu master, but Mayumi wondered if he used a spell from ninjutsu. So Tatsuya told her that his skill was a basic level vibration spell that he created with Sion waves. Even so, Mayumi thought Sion waves weren't strong enough to knock someone out, so Tatsuya explained that he had overwhelmed Jayabu with enough Sions that made him feel as if he was having a terrible seasickness. When Mayumi wondered how he managed to release waves so powerful, Suzyun explained that Tatsuya had released 3 Sion waves of different frequencies, and directed them right at Jayabu so they would create a very strong wave together. She thought his abilities were incredible, and wondered how the his practical exam score was low. Tatsuya told her that the school has a terrible grading system, and that most of his abilities were overlooked in the test. Regaining consciousness, Jayabu told them that the practical test was scored only on the speed of activating a spell, and accepting he was a loser, he decided to apologize to Miyuki, saying that he had allowed his emotions to cloud his judgment, and had wrongly condemned her words. However, he was too ashamed to make peace with Tatsuya and decided to leave instead. At home that night, Miyuki asked Tatsuya to upgrade her CAD so she could multitask with her skills, so he agreed to help her, and shortly scanned her in a device. However, when she was done, rather than going straight to bed like every other good supporting MC, she decided to play devil's advocate, and wondered if her brother wants to develop plot with her. Miyuki wondered if he would have Mayumi for a one-night stand, or would rather have a Dothraki-style threesome with Mary. But Tatsuya wondered if she was high on some PG meds. At once, she grabbed her cat, saying that she would rather have him all to herself so they can have their own wicked evil Joffrey, and activated a spell that knocked him down from his seat, making him to lose consciousness in that instant. At once, his self-restoration began, and his magic sequence was loaded. And as he finally woke up, Miyuki told him that it was morning already. That day in the disciplinary office, Mary introduced Tatsuya and Shun as the newest members of the committee, saying that they would start their patrol immediately, and commanded the other members to head for their duty. With the men gone, she told Tatsuya and Shun that they were allowed to use magic devices inside the school, since they were now part of the disciplinary committee, but warned them never to misuse their new privileges. Before long, he began patrolling the school, and soon came across a group of students who were trying to force Erika to join their club. Deciding to save her, he activated his CAD, and as he rushed to her, he knocked out the first guy and hurried off with the girl. When they arrived at a safe spot, Erika told him that she doesn't want to be alone, so they visited a kendo club together. However, Erika thought the kendo practice really sucked, and couldn't wait to leave. Just then, they noticed 2 teams on the court, arguing over space, and the arrogant douche decided to challenge the girl to a duel. The girl, Mibu, had placed second in the kendo tournament, but the dude, Takaki, was champion of the Kanto region. He promised he wouldn't activate his magic, but she called him a lying ass loser, saying that he could never defeat her without cheating. At the same time, Tatsuya began to record them, realizing the situation was about to escalate. Immediately, Takaki charged at her, and they raised their sticks to strike each other. However, they realized that Takaki's stick merely grazed her arm, but her stick would have impaled his heart if it was an actual weapon. She told him to admit defeat, seeing as he would be dead in an actual fight. But Takaki began saying that she was demanding for a real fight, and activated his core instantly. As he prepared to use his vibration combat magic and high-frequency blade, Tatsuya realized that this nutcase was about to take a little sparring way too far. In a flash, Takaki slashed at Mibu, narrowly missing her, and she realized she could have easily entered Nirvana. Takaki tried to attack again, but Tatsuya appeared before him and unleashed Sion waves that cooled off his weapon, as he immediately wrestled him to the floor. However, when the students realized he was a weed, one tried to grab him, but he whisked away. When he wondered why his friend was being arrested, Tatsuya said that he had used his magic inappropriately. Even so, the dude tried punching him, but he evaded and dodged another, causing him to bump into the other. As the other members attacked him, Mibu tried to support him, but her captain restrained her. At the same time, Tatsuya jammed their CADs, and merely danced around the useless student, and the captain thought he was impressive. The following day at school, Tatsuya was informed that a group of students were fighting in the gym and had to arrest them immediately, so he hurried off. However, as he ran past the trees, a mysterious hand tried attacking him with magic, but he predicted the spell and released Sion waves that destroyed it immediately. And as the worthless loser ran off, he noticed his wristband, but he took off before he reached him. The following day in class, Leo told Tatsuya that he became famous ever since he took down the ugly band of losers in the kendo club, and ever since had become the local champ. Just then, Tatsuya noticed Miyuki spying at him from the entrance, and as they began heading to grab lunch, they came across Mibu, whom Tatsuya had rescued from the ugly, worthless Takaki. As she wondered if they could have lunched together, Tatsuya told her he was not interested in playing gigolo, and told her to go get a life. However, she told him that she would be waiting at the cafe if he changes his mind. As Tatsuya prepared to leave, Miyuki asked if he would visit the girl, and grew jealous at the thought of sharing her brother. She told him that she was happy he was growing famous, but was afraid that his true abilities would soon be discovered. Tatsuya told her that he would be perfectly safe, and said that he would keep his true abilities hidden away from everyone. Later that day, Tatsuya was invited to the counseling room, but he wondered why Miss Counselor was dressed like a retired stripper. She told him that he was invited for a mental experiment to discover if he was a perv. To determine if he truly was one, she told him that she must ask him some questions. By the time the questions were over, she asked if Mibu was his new lover, but he told her to stick her ugly nose into her business and called it a rumor. That evening at school, Mibu told the captain that she was sick of being bullied due to her inability to use magic, and was bent on changing the school's activities. The captain thought that Tatsuya was their only hope of making progress, and told her to win him over to their club. At home that night, Tatsuya revealed to Miyuki that a secret anti-magic group was starting to infiltrate the school, and thought they were up to no good. While heading to the gym a few days ago, a student had attacked him, and he told her that he was certain the dude wore the organization's wristband. Hearing his words, Miyuki wondered if the anti-magic group intend to destroy the country to even their odds, so Tatsuya told her that it was possible, but thought their family would investigate this secret organization. Miyuki was afraid that they would have to return home once their family got involved, so Tatsuya promised to handle the situation before it got out of hand. A few days later, Tatsuya prepared for a new test, and as the system activated, it began estimating his magic speed, and he realized that it was over 900 milliseconds, and he thought he might be hopeless of ever improving his practical skills. At the cafeteria that afternoon, Mibu told Tatsuya that she intends to demand for better treatment for all the first course students if he decides to join her club. However, Tatsuya was not convinced, and asked to know what she really hopes to change. Mibu thought the entire f***ing school could be changed, but Tatsuya told her that she was too confused to make up her mind on what was truly important. He told her that his only desire was to graduate from the school, and abandon everything else. Realizing they had different intentions, Tatsuya told her that he wouldn't be joining their club, and decided to leave. That afternoon, Mibu's secret group began announcing on the Pihei system that they intend to fight for equality in the school. They demanded to negotiate with the student council, and threatened to destroy the school if their demands were not met. When Tatsuya and Miyuki arrived, Mary told them that they had cut off power, but could not make their way into the room as the door had been barricaded. At once, Tatsuya called Mibu, and began telling her that the committee was willing to negotiate with them, promising they would not be arrested. Before long, they restrained the students, and Mibu wondered why Tatsuya had tricked her. Just then, Mayumi arrived, and commanded that they release the students. She said that Mibu could not decide the terms of their negotiation on her own, but that she needed the support of the others. After all, they were all considered students of the school. She said that the student council would handle the situation, and suggested they leave for the negotiation at once. That day at school, Tatsuya spotted the captain as he tried to persuade Mizuki to join his club, and thought he was the same dude that attacked him a few days ago. As he left, Mizuki told him that he was the captain of Mibu's kendo club, and said that he has the same hypersensitivity skill that she possesses. That night, the sensei began telling Tatsuya and Miyuki that the captain was a member of the anti-magic group that often attacks the city, and that his brother was the leader of another famous anti-magic group in Japan. He said that he was up to no good, and was certain that they would attempt to ruin the debate. On the day of the debate, two mysterious men abandoned a truck outside the school, and took off before they were spotted. Inside the hall, the kendo club rep began telling everyone that the school's system was rigged to only favor magic users. However, Mayumi thought the dude was just paranoid, and began explaining that the committee does not have the power to change everything in the school, but promised to change the rule that made it impossible for second course students to join the student council. As she let out those words, the students began to applaud her inspiring speech. And with that, the Kendo Club knew they had lost their only shot at success. Just then, explosions rocked the hall, and members of the anti-magic group tried running away, but the committee members managed to arrest them. At that moment, a tear gas was fired into the hall, and it released toxic gas, but Jayabu sealed it with a spell and hurled it outside. Shortly, 3 men burst into the hall, but started choking as Mary squeezed every breath out of their lungs. Outside, several men arrived and began blasting at the school. Tatsuya offered to secure the building, and realizing that 2 deaths were better than 1, Mary commanded them to leave immediately. At the same time, Leo was kicking the bad guys around. When one of them tried to blast him with magic, Miyuki cast a spell under their feet and raised them high towards the sky before allowing them to hit the ground. Leo was happy to see them, and Erika thought they now have an advantage. When Tatsuya wondered where the rest of them were, the teacher-turned-counselor appeared before them, saying that the men's true intention was to attack the library, and that their attack on the hall was a mere diversion. She told them that Mibu was working with the men, but said that they shouldn't condemn her for her poor decisions as she was being toyed with like a Barbie doll, and was trying to overcome her own demons. When they realized he was running off to the library, the others started running after him. At the same time, the men were beating up the students, but Leo activated his Panzer Fist and punched one away. Miyuki thought his skill was impressive, so Tatsuya told her that Leo had cast a reinforcement spell on his CAD, and he continued blocking all the attacks. As he charged at a man, he destroyed his shield, but Tatsuya told him to head for the library. Inside, Tatsuya activated a new power and was able to scan the building and discovered the precise positions of all the men. Immediately, Erika began rushing forward and drew her weapon as 2 men appeared before her. Within a moment, she jabbed one and knocked the other. As another man appeared, Erika managed to stop him, telling them that she would kick his ass on her own. At that instant, Miyuki raised Tatsuya with a spell, and he flew over them, leaping off the wall, and she activated her device and followed him. Inside a private room, Mibu wondered if she was doing the right thing, seeing as the mysterious men were trying to steal all the school's magic data. However, before they could copy the data, the door fell open, and Tatsuya shot a signal that destroyed their devices. When one of them tried to shoot, Miyuki froze his hand instantly, and he realized he wouldn't be unwrapping any gifts for Christmas. Tatsuya began telling Mibu that there could never be equality in the world, and that she had merely allowed herself to be tricked into making bad decisions. However, she thought her intentions were right, and wondered why Tatsuya was not angry at the world. Miyuki told her that Tatsuya was a dozen times smarter than her, and that he always earned his respect rather than demanding it. She thought Mibu was just a scrawny, useless, lazy flat ass, and said that she really needs to get a life.
Damn!
She told her that Tatsuya had noticed her ugly face, and had even thought of making her his second wife, but realized that she was far too useless. She told her that she had always looked down on herself, but was too afraid to take responsibility. With Mibu still in shock from the realization, one of the men screamed at her to activate her ring, so she unleashed a cast jamming to destroy Miyuki's magic. But Tatsuya knocked down the men without breaking a sweat, and spotted Mibu running away. Miyuki tried to end her, but Tatsuya told her to allow her leave, saying that Erika was waiting to kick her ass. At that moment, Mibu came across Erika, and the redhead introduced herself. She told her that she had watched her at the Kendo tournament, and was sad to see her become a loser and a painful embarrassment to her family. Desperate to escape, Mibu grabbed a weapon, but Erika promised to school her ass anyway, and threw down a sword if she wishes to change weapons, before drawing her own weapon. As she charged at her, Mibu thought she was fast, and managed to block her attacks, as Erika flashed across her. Mibu realized that she had activated a self-acceleration ability. As Erika ran to her, she activated the cast jamming, and began attacking her with relentless attacks. But Erika fought back, breaking her weapon in half. Eager for more action, Erika told her to take up another weapon, saying that she wants to kick her ass fair and square. So Mibu threw away the ring, and picked up the sword, accepting the challenge. She said that she noticed her technique was the same as Mary's, and was certain she could defeat her now, but Erika told her that she couldn't beat her even in her own dreams. In a flash, Erika knocked her down, and she realized that her bones were fractured. She told her that Mary was actually a pupil in their training school, and that regardless of her position in the disciplinary committee, she was still her senior in training. Immediately, she caught Mibu as she passed out. Later that day, a member of the committee appeared before the captain, wondering where he had been hiding. so the captain tried escaping, but another student appeared before him. As he cast a jamming signal, the dude knocked the air right out of his fucking lungs. That evening in the infirmary, Mibu began explaining everything that happened with the captain, and said that he had tricked her into joining the anti-magic group after realizing that she was a hopeless, lonely loser. Mary told her that she wasn't a loser, but was unlucky to become his victim. As Mibu grew sad, Tetsuya told her to be proud of her achievements, and said that she has grown stronger all on her own, even without getting acknowledged by anyone. Touched by his kind words, she began to cry like a kid who lost her candy. When that rap was over, Tetsuya told them that he intends to annihilate every member of the anti-magic group. As Miyuki asked to come along, Erika and Leo offered to be their backup. Just then, he opened the door, revealing Miss Counselor, who had been eavesdropping on their conversation. Before long, they